Welcome to episode 10 of the Us and Oceans Live News podcast. Us and Oceans Live News, the podcast. Hi guys, this episode's been brought to you by the Zoo Cafe, which is a vegetarian and vegan cafe on Newland Ave in Hull, UK. I'll give you the address. It's 80 Newland Ave, Hull, HU53AB. They do absolutely fantastic meals, catering for both vegetarian and vegan. Obviously segregated, it's strictly segregated, and the meals are absolutely fantastic. Various meals like specials, like the kashari, Egyptian street food, vegan street food, which is absolutely marvellous to eat. I've had that before, which is like pasta and with quinoa and this type of Egyptian curry, which is absolutely outstanding food. I also do a vegan breakfast. The vegetarian side is obviously they use for egg, they use actually proper egg. Obviously with cafe they offer, if you want a coffee you can have milk or you can have soya. They also do health teas. The atmosphere is absolutely fantastic. Staff are absolutely brilliant, so if you're ever around in Hull in the UK, there's definitely a place to go if you are vegetarian or a vegan. So check it out if you get around here, the Zoo Cafe on Newland Ave. So how are you guys anyway? I'm fine. And just been a bit late with this podcast this year. It's Sunday now, and been a bit behind. I was gonna do one on Friday, but I was so busy. I was actually in quite far in Maryport, which is on Cumbria side of Hull. I didn't get back quite late, so I was pretty exhausted on my way back from work. But I'd still, as usually, I always post various conservation news posts from various channels for the sake of the planet, the oceans, and your health, and for all the sentient beings that are on the planet. Obviously, need all the help they can get. So there's still a couple of posts I've been sharing after the last podcast. And one of it says the government still refusing to admit that the dams in the Canada, still refuse to admit that the dams in California cause salmon reductions. There's obviously been now they're blaming that the Cormorants, saying that they tripled losses of salmon and steelhead. So they're trying to do a cull on the Cormorants, which is totally just trying to scapegoat the actual issue that's been out there. And it says here, this goes down as one of the really significant failures in wildlife management in recent decades. The Portland, Oregon cormorant massacres at East Sand Island near the mouth of the Columbia River between Oregon and Washington not only did not save any salmon and steelhead from predation in 2015 through 2017, but may have tripled predation losses, according to new research by Oregon Department of Fish, Wildlife, Avian Predation biologist James Lowen. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers killed 5,573 cormorants and destroyed 6,181 nests in an effort to prevent the birds from eating an estimated 12 million young salmon each year, summarised Karina Brown for Courthouse News Service in Wilmette Week on February 5th, 2019. Little to no gain. Lowen, however, told Brown that he expect little to no gain in salmon and steelhead survival as a result of the killing, ordered by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and executed by the USDA Wildlife Services. Explanation: Brown, that's because cormorants are now living farther upriver, still in huge numbers, and where the live makes a difference, cormorants who live closer to the ocean choose from an extensive menu of ocean fish that form huge shoals in Columbia estuary, such as anchovies, herring and smelt. Upriver they eat a far higher proportion of salmon and other freshwater fish. None of the estimated 16,000 birds who fled East Sand Island in 2017 amid the USDA Wildlife Service gunfire were tagged or radio collared, so there is no data to show exactly where they went. But last year, a sudden surge of cormorants nested in Antmoria Megala Bridge, 7 miles upriver from the island and at other upriver spots. They say bridge cormorant colony will likely double. Some cormorants had nested in the Astoria Medal Bridge spanning the Columbia River since 2004, but only in very small numbers. Altogether, Columbia River estuary cormorant populations recovered about 10,000 nesting pairs, comparable to original average of 12,000 pairs on East Sand Island before the Corps Engineers project. Brown assessed other spots upstream have become new homes for 750 breeding pairs. Fed's new killing cormorants would not help. That the cormorants massacres would do little or nothing to conserve salmon and steelhead was no surprise to Audubon Society of Portland Conservation Director Bob Salinger. The outcome should also be no surprise to the US Army Corps of Engineers and other agencies involved in the killing. Salinger contended an unsuccessful 2015 lawsuit based on suppressed and ignored study by US Fish and Wildlife Service biologist Steve Hessiker. We think this goes down as one of the real significant failures in wildlife management in recent decades, Sandra told Brown. It's without question one of the worst things I've ever seen in 25 years of wildlife advocacy. This was never about protecting salmon, emphasising Salinger. This was always about scapegoating birds to avoid the real challenges that the Corps of Engineers needed to face up to. And the result has been a stunning failure, whether you care about birds or fish. Salinger and many other conservationists have long blamed salmon and steelhead declines in the Columbia River estuary on many upstream dams blocking the Columbia, the Willamette and other spawning rivers. Dams and hot water. US Army Corps of Engineers has refused to do what's necessary to modify those dams to protect salmon, Salinger has often said, and that is why salmon are continuing to decline. Killing wildlife is not going to change that situation. Several reports indicate that global warming is also a major and growing factor. Effects of elevated water temperature have been found by at least one recent study to be contributing to the premature deaths as many as half of the adult sockeye salmon returning to the Columbia River and tributaries to spawn. Feds blame eagles. US Army Corps of Engineers meanwhile denied to Brown that shooting thousands of cormorants and smashing their nests had anything to do with their 2017 exodus from East Sand Islands. Instead, wrote Brown, the Corps blames eagles for the birds' mass abandonment of the island. The management plan has been very successful in reducing the amount of salmon eaten by birds on East Sand Island, contended US Army Corps of Engineers biologist Chris Leitner. We just don't know about the estuary as a whole. Pure scapegoating, responded Oregon State University wildlife ecology professor Dan Ruby, who was hired by the Corps engineers to study potential effects of rousting cormorants from East Sand Islands, but whose advice was ignored. If there is a place in the Columbia River estuary where it would be the best for cormorants to nest, and by best I mean their effect on salmon and steelhead survival, it would be East Sand Islands. Brown published an expose of the failure of the cormorant killing to help salmon and steelhead on the same day that Animals 24/7 published Why Killing Predators Won't Bring Back Salmon, examining and exposing schemes pursued by a variety of state and federal agencies to try to recover salmon and steelhead by killing gulls and Californian sea lions. All of this, said Salinger, is a continuation of a very unfortunate pattern of killing wildlife to protect other wildlife. Pure scapegoating. So basically that's what that article was about. So there you are. It's like, again, they always seem to pass the buck on, blame it on somebody else, which often a lot of governments do. It's like climate change, obviously they blame transport, heavy transport and other factors for the climate change, but never blame animal agriculture, which is obviously more potent and unhealthy to the planet than all transport in the world combined. So that was one of those posts I've shared over the week. The other one was via the Dolphin Project, and where the Japanese activists file a lawsuit against Taiji, which was shared by the Dolphin Project, and I decided to share it to my page. You can see it on my page if you go on Facebook, Ocean Oceans Live News. You could read it there too. Recently, Dolphin Project had the opportunity to talk with Ren Yabuki of Life Investigation Agency, and LIA focused, which is Life Investigation, focused on animal advocacy with Japan. We first met Ren in the 2016-17 dolphin hunting season when he came to Taiji to learn about issues surrounding the captivity industry in Japan. LIA has been responsible for several legal actions in Japan, successfully defending the rights of animals, and LIA, in partnership with a local Taiji resident, just announced a lawsuit aimed against Taiji dolphins dry runs and the unethical treatment and torture of dolphins in this practice. LIA hopes this lawsuit will ultimately bring an end to the hunts and to the suffering of dolphins in Taiji. Question answer with Ren Yabuki said, I want people to understand that these animals have a heart, they have feelings. Just because we may not speak the same language or be the same species doesn't mean we can destroy that. Question was, when did you first learn about the hunts in Taiji? I learned about the dolphin hunts issue from documentary The Cove. Question, how much do you hear about the hunts in Japan from news sources? And how do you feel these sources are biased, unbiased? Generally speaking, the Japanese media outlets and news sources don't fully cover the issues at hand in regarding the dolphin hunts. When the news reports on the subject matter, they are very biased and do not accurately portray the available information. The media tends to hide and cover up information for the Japanese people by never telling the full truth. Question, what was your experience going to Taiji and witnessing the hunts firsthand? What I saw was deeply disturbing and affected my peace of mind tremendously. A bunch of negative emotions ran through my body, making my blood boil upon the monstrosity I've witnessed. This doesn't even begin to describe the full emotions I felt, as they are impossible to put into words. What I can say, I felt sadness, despair, anger, and helplessness as I was unable to stop or do anything but watch in my horror as the events unfolded in front of me. At the end of the day, I was completely exhausted and drained from what I saw at the dolphin hunt. Can you offer details about the LIA's lawsuit? What do you hope to accomplish? LIA's lawsuit goal is to end dolphin hunting. Question, I understand a Taiji resident is now joining you in a lawsuit. How did this come about? Answer, opposing dolphin hunting in Taiji is as hard as one might expect. I met someone who stole alone in the darkness, trying to oppose dolphin hunting on their own. Since meeting this individual, he has joined our lawsuit and become a dear friend to me as well. I have the utmost respect for this person, and he is one of the most courageous people I know. Question, do you think this will bring news attention both from within Japan and worldwide to the Taiji hunts and the captivity of issue in general? As this case is the first of its kind in Japan, I can't confirm how the media will report it or not. My hope is journalists will accurately report on the matter with an unbiased opinion. If they can do that, then the Japanese people can have a chance to review all the facts for themselves. If journalists do not accurately report the facts, then the information will be distorted. Animals that were once living freely in nature are then caught and forcibly made to be an attraction in aquariums or zoos. Imagine if we did that to other humans, your family or friends, for example. Stole them and confined them in their cages for the rest of their lives. To be trapped until death is a cruel and inhumane thing to do. I want people to understand that these animals have a heart, they have feelings, Just because we may not speak the same language or be the same species doesn't mean that we can destroy that. Do you feel the residents of Taiji support these hunts? I think the residents of Taiji generally do not concern themselves with dolphin hunts and therefore do not know much about the subject matter, including who or what they affect. Question: do you feel Japanese citizens support taiji hunts, the captivity industry? When the Japanese person goes to an aquarium, for example, they do not think about where or how the dolphins got there. All they see is happy swimming creature and they don't concern themselves with any further details. If they knew how the dolphins were taken from their homes, I believe they would be against keeping them captive. Generally speaking, captured dolphins are sold between 4 to 6 million yen each. If the general public was informed in the subject matter, I believe the majority of citizens would be against the hunt and captivity. Question: do you look for different actions from Western culture than you do from Japan? I do not look for different actions from Western culture than I would from Japan. Japan is slowly but surely developing the ethics in the same way Western culture would. We are all human and do value the same ethics. Our methods to reaching that same goal might be slightly different, but I know Japan is already starting to change the way of thinking. Although this will take time to accomplish, and unfortunately many animals will perish. The faster we can work together, the faster we can save the dolphins. Those are the questions, Mr. Ren there from Japan, and the activists, and yeah, it's sad what's happening over there. I did explain to my previous point how they drive a pod of dolphins into this called the Killing Cove, and there a trainer or special trained person will select the ones that are susceptible to be trained, and the others will get recklessly slaughtered. Which leads me to the other story, which has sadly come about. Very sad story that has come about, and it's about a pod of Rissos dolphins that were driven into the cove, and it has the Taiji, Japan, where 4 baby Rissos dolphins have been dumped out at sea alone, and their mothers and family have been slaughtered. All in all, there was 10 Rissos dolphins that were swimming close to the shore. 4 of them were calves, and but none of them are susceptible to be trained by the dolphin specialists, and they were all slaughtered. None of them survived. Obviously, the calves have been dumped out at sea, and they can't. It's impossible for them to survive with an adult counterpart, so they're more likely to have been perished as well. The reason why they get dumped out is because with the small bodies don't when they decide to slow them, it doesn't reach the actual size quota that they have for them to have the right to slaughter the dolphins. It was a very, very sad day then. It was on the 14th of February when that happened. It was shared by Rick O'Barry's Dolphin Project. If you go and check out that page on Facebook, Rick O'Barry's Dolphin Project, they do fantastic work. They're over there in Taiji and they document everything, take videos. They're not allowed to approach any of the sites, but they take it from quite a distance. Take photos, write posts and stuff like that, which always helps. But yeah, it was a sad day to find out that these calves have been dumped out at sea. Most was horrific. But all the others have been slaughtered for the consumption of dolphin meat. Excuse me. Yeah, not a nice day at all when that happened. So it wasn't a pleasant day. So yeah, basically, it leads me to again. I know it's always a roundabout thing I'm coming to. the problem is about the conservation of marine issues. Marine conservation. It all leads down back to food, reducing plastics, obviously exploiting animals for entertainment. No doubt about that. And obviously, definitely, first and foremost is consumption of any sort of meat derived from the ocean. They don't deserve to be killed and obviously consumed by humans. And it's sad. It's frustrating, very frustrating. I do this podcast, and I run my channel all throughout for the week, and it's frustrating that all we can do is just share the post, try and make people aware as much as possible, but the things never stop happening. This is where the vegan community gets such a bad name, because the process of trying to do something is so slow. So they go out and push, basically. They push more than the luck, basically, to go and help the animals of the world, and try and live better lives through it. It's very sad. Say the dolphins have been slaughtered for the meat as well, and more than anything, that's such an intelligent creature does not deserve to be slaughtered at all, and always confuses me how they can go through with it, but they do. These taiji people, they do. They just do what they believe is their job. To the bosses is they don't get no answers at all from the bosses that are there. They think it's all normal, it's tradition and be their way of life. But it's like anything, things have to stop, for the sake of the world. And it's very frustrating for me personally to, all we can do is just share it, share what we find, and share it along, pass it along. Just hope that people come across it, read it, share that along too, regardless of what it entails, marine conservation. Just share it. If you've got people around the other side of the world, make sure they get to know. What I mean? Just say, look, I really feel strongly about this. This is really happening over there. They could do with some help, or something like that. But it's important to share these posts. It's very, very important to share these posts. It's the only way to get it moving around the world, to wake the people up that don't know anything about it, and hopefully they will join a cause. Trying to prevent this, and the more people come on board on changing the way that they eat, which means going 100% plant-based. Eventually, the fishing industry will die out. People, obviously, some people who are in the fishing industry don't want this to happen, but it's a necessity for a better planet. And hopefully one day I can see that day coming. If not, I hope my children will be fine when it comes to the point of critical stage where the world's on near collapse, because we are heading that way. The way we can't carry on the way we do things now, and I just hope that it won't be too late by the time I leave this world, and hopefully something that can be done. So yeah, it's only 2 posts I've shared into this week. Like I say, I've been quite busy. But I will leave you here with this podcast, and I hope to give you a fresh podcast next week where I will again talk about the posts that I've shared along on my page. So if you'd like to support my page, support my podcast, subscribe to any sort of way you can. Like wherever you see, if there's thumbs there, give it a like. Comment, it'd be great if you comment on it, give me some feedback, some sort of advice, especially on YouTube. It's always good to find out what's been said on YouTube. Nobody's commented on there yet, but all my podcasts do get converted into sort of video format not with me in the picture, but sort of like a graphic, like a wave, like a visualization where you can see like these bars going up and stuff. And it's not much to it, but you can listen to the podcast on YouTube anyway, and it just send me some support, or some advice, make sure I'm on the right path and doing the right things. So thank you very much again for listening to this podcast. Much appreciated with all these podcasts out there that are available for you to listen to. I really appreciate you coming to this podcast. Again, if you'd like to support, I am on Instagram, Twitter, Us and Oceans, live news on Facebook, and on YouTube. So again, I'll see you next time, guys. Bye bye.